it'd be as if, you heard that, Hercules just got blown to bits or something. Like, wait, this doesn't make sense. Like, this can't happen. Like, this great of a person couldn't have been taken down by a single bullet, by a single little chunk of lead or something. Kind of had that sort of feeling. Like, this guy was invincible. Like, he made us want to be like him, sort of thing. And so now with him out of the picture, it's kind of like we're really lost at that point. He was from Abington, Massachusetts, and he had a really thick, like, Boston accent. Like it was unmistakable. Like, this guy was from Boston, absolutely. In fact, at the memorial service we had for V, our company commander made a speech about him and said, he said something to the effect of, if we were to, get on a radio and have a radio check, up to heaven right now, we'd hear back a thick, like, Lima Charlie, like, coming back on it kind of thing. So that's kind of funny there. But he was a short guy. He was pretty stocky. He had black hair. He always had, like, a smile or a frown on his face. This guy was, like, the definition of devious and conniving. Like, he was always trying to figure out, he always hated authority. He was always trying to figure out some way to make it better for his boys and, to still complete the mission. I mean, this is the kind of guy, whenever you saw him, he always had an inexhaustible supply of Red Bulls. Like, when we were training, he'd always have a Red Bull in his hand. Literally. I have pictures of him on deployment. Like, he's on a combat foot patrol and he's got a Red Bull. Like, he's scanning for Taliban and he's got a Red Bull right down next to him. Like, I don't know how he did it. This is the kind of guy who was, like, funny. He could get serious when he needed to, but he hated authority. He was always looking for a good fight. Like, he was always making fun of people, like, always dissing people's moms or, like, whatever it is. Like, oh. Our platoon had been split up into two sections, one Alpha and one Bravo. And one Bravo had went out the previous day, and they went out to a certain sector called Whiskey 7 Delta, and that's the way it's called a GRG, and that's the way the map is broken up in Helmand Province and how we broke up the maps. So Whiskey 7 Delta, they went out there and they got in a big firefight, and they were basically, moving essentially from compound to compound or from village to village throughout the whole day. And they came back and they told us about it. And they were like, yeah, we were in Whiskey 7 Delta today. We'd never been there before, and we got in a big fight there. And they were just like, shooting and moving the whole day. And so we knew that we were going into Whiskey 7 Delta the next day. And so that pumped us up a lot. We were really excited. And then he looked at me and he said, do you want to sit this one out? And I looked right back at him and I said, fuck no, of course I don't want to sit this one out. We're going to Whiskey 7 Delta. Like, we're going to be in the shit today. Like, we're going to sling some lead for once, Like, no, of course I don't want to sit this one out at all. And then V just kind of said, hey man, you've kind of done your time. Like, you've already done a deployment. Let some of the newer guys go out, like, let them get some of that experience that you already have that they don't have, let them do that. And I told him, I said, hey, if, the only reason I'm sitting out of this is because you're telling me to, not because I want to. And he said, his exact words to me was, don't worry about it, just go back to the hooch. The hooches are where we lived, like little rooms on the base, on the camp. Just go back to the hooches and, just stay low and jack off for a day and try not to get caught by anybody, kind of thing, yoked up for a working party. And I said, all right, fine. And so I took my gear out and I went back, and that was the last I ever saw him alive. I saw a bunch of Bravo guys walking by me, and a lot of them, they weren't looking very enthusiastic. They were looking pretty not bored, but they're looking pretty down. And then finally, I grabbed one of them and I said, hey, what's up? What's going on? And one of the guys said, oh, did you not hear? Like, V got hit. And then I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean V got hit? Like, this guy's like Thor reincarnated. Like, he's, you know, he slings lead for a living. Like, he just loves doing what he's doing. And so what I found out later was when the rest of the patrol got back is they had gotten in a day-long firefight, and they were literally running from compound to compound, and they were running all over the place. And like literally the way I heard it from them is the second they stepped outside their trucks, they started taking fire, and that didn't stop until they got back in their trucks at the end of the day. So one half of the patrol was in compound 34 and 7 Delta, and from what they were telling me, the other side of the patrol was on, like, it was something like 200 or 300 meters away, and V stepped outside to make contact with that patrol, doing something called a connecting file. So you wanted to make physical contact with them to see where they were and to say, hey, you move there, I'll move here, whatever he wanted to do. But when he stepped outside, one of my buddies says he remembers hearing a single shot ring out. And usually when shots, you know, there's a difference when a shot rings out and it goes by you and it hits the dirt, you know, it makes like a thud sound. But he said he heard it this time, but it didn't make like a thud sound like it was hitting dirt, but it sounded like it was hitting me. And it was very different than like hitting dirt, and that's what he described it as. And then V was shot on the left side of his chest, just below his armor, where his SAPI plate or his flak vest is. Just below that, it went kind of underneath his left armpit, went straight through his chest, through his heart, and then exited out under his right armpit. And instantly, because V had a grenade launcher, so V went down, and everybody started yelling, "Hey, V's hit, you know, Sergeant V's been hit." So instantly, a bunch of guys ran out. 2 guys, Hefner and Cox, ran out, and they grabbed V's body and they drug him into the compound. And then this guy named Cox, who was a sniper with us at the time, he grabbed V's grenade launcher, and he proceeded to shoot every single HE round that V had at where the Taliban were shooting at them from, which was around 300 meters away in a far tree line. In the medical, the MO back at Camp Leatherneck, in his estimation, even if V had been, you know, shot on an operating table in a hospital, like in the ER, there still would have been very little or nothing they could have done. He was probably dead before he even hit the ground, kind of thing. So that happened, and then the patrol, they had to keep fighting because that was only halfway through the day. So they evac V, and they had to keep fighting, and then they just moved around the village and then kept pushing. And then at the end of the day, they loaded up in their trucks, and then they came back to Leatherneck. And then, of course, by then, we all got set up for the ramp ceremony, which is they basically took V's casket, they put him in the casket, and then put a flag over it, and then loaded him on a C-130, and then all of us kind of stood there outside and had our kind of final respects with that sort of thing. They took him on the C-130 and then left. But like, I think about, you know, maybe I could have been in that compound with them. Maybe I could have returned fire better than them. Maybe I could have, you know, my rounds could have impacted better. Maybe I could have seen the guys who were shooting at us. But then maybe I would have gotten schwacked as well. Or maybe me and V would have gotten schwacked. Maybe other guys would have gotten hurt coming to get me. Like, that's something I wouldn't want to live with. You know, like, you can play devil's advocate all day, but at the end of the day, it's like, you just have to deal with what happened, kind of thing. So on the day that he was killed, because we all knew we were going into 7 Delta, he scrawled on our whiteboard in the platoon office. He wrote up on there, he wrote 1st Platoon going out to pick a fight, and then he was killed. And so we never erased that for the entire deployment, and we kept that up there, like in his handwriting and stuff. But that was the kind of guy he was, you know.